Hi friends, welcome back. Jen here, single mom, artist, and entrepreneur, and this channel is all about building a life that you love. Now, if you are a handmade business or a small business of any kind, you are probably very well aware that market season is coming up fast. Now, whether you call it a market, a craft fair, a vendor event, they're all the same thing. It can be hard to find the right event for you and for your products. So today I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to vet markets to find out if it's going to be a good call for you. So let's get to it. Tip number 1, identify your target audience. Then research the typical customer base for that event or market. Are these clients that usually attend this event looking for handmade, high quality items? Or are they more interested in less expensive buy-sell items? Look for events that are going to align with your product type and price range. Tip number 2, check the market's reputation. Read reviews from vendors who have sold at that market before. Double check that that market is in fact a legitimate market by calling the venue to make sure that there is in fact a market scheduled and asking who the coordinator is before you send anybody any money. That'll keep you from getting scammed by fake coordinators. They are out there. If you can visit the market as a shopper before committing to it, fabulous. I highly recommend that. And also check their social media and see what kind of reputation they seem to have and what their followers seem to think of them. Tip number 3, consider the market type. Is it a handmade focused market? If so, and you're a handmade seller, that might be a perfect fit for you. Is it a general market or a flea market? These events don't tend to work as well for handmade products, specifically higher cost handmade products. They work really well for buy-sell items and less expensive handmade items. But for high quality, high price tag handmade items, a flea market or a general market may not be the best fit. Holiday or seasonal markets bring out people looking to buy. They are looking to buy gifts, which means they can be great for buy-sell businesses and for handmade businesses. So seasonal markets tend to be a good fit for pretty much anyone. Farmers markets, on the other hand, tend to prioritize handmade, eco-friendly, sustainable types of items. So more artisanal items are definitely going to be a good fit for a farmer's market. And lastly, festivals. Now, festivals can be great for both handmade items and buy-sell items, but in my experience, one of the biggest factors for whether or not I choose to do a festival is whether or not that festival will have carnival rides. Now, I sell stained glass and fused glass items. Those items tend to be higher priced and they tend to be an adult audience. Festivals that have carnival rides tend to draw families with small children, which don't mix well with my booth space in general. And small kids means lots of rides, means lots of money spent on carnival rides. So high-end art, not on their radar for a festival. Now, a festival that's got non-carnival rides, but entertainment type draw, like music, that tends to be a really great place for me to vend at, because people who appreciate good music also appreciate good art. So keep in mind what kind of items you sell and what kind of items are going to be the best for the audience for that particular market. Tip number 4, review the vendor fees and requirements. Some markets are going to require you to apply months and months in advance, especially those that are juried, which means that everyone who applies is vetted to make sure that the quality is what the organizers are looking for. If you can find out the expected attendance, by all means do, and compare the vendor fees to the expected amount of foot traffic that the event could have that day. Sometimes a really inexpensive market is inexpensive because it's going to have really low attendance, and that may or may not make it worth your time and money. Number 5, analyze your past sales and successes and fails. If you've done the market before, then hopefully you've kept good records as to what you sold and how much money you made. But if you've not done a market before, you can check with other vendors to see if they consistently do the same market year after year. Lots of return vendors is a really good sign that that's a good market. You can also look for social media posts of feedback for markets. There's plenty of groups on Facebook where people give feedback on markets that they attended. So there are ways to find out about past successes for those markets out there. You just have to be willing to dig. Tip number 6, location, location, location. Where is the market being held? Places in downtown areas have higher foot traffic and therefore are automatically going to have higher attendance. And also consider the accessibility for both yourself and the patrons coming to the event. Is parking going to be a complete nightmare? Are there plenty of places to park if people are just a little bit patient? Accessibility does make or break sometimes whether or not people show up to an event. If they have to do a lot of extra work to get to the event, then they may be inclined to pass it by. Number 7, event promotion and marketing. Does this event have good social media presence? Does it have good advertisement? Are they utilizing email marketing? A really well promoted event is going to attract more serious shoppers. So promotion matters. Number 8, booth setup and space considerations. Some markets are going to provide tables and tents, but generally that's not the rule. Most of the time you have to provide your own tables, tents, and set up paraphernalia. Check to see if you'll have access to electricity, Wi-Fi, and or shade if it's an outdoor event, because those hot summer months of July and August in the blazing sun with no shade can be absolutely miserable, especially if it is a 90+ degree day. Shade is a godsend when it is really, really hot outside. It's not an absolute make or break, but man, is that a giant bonus. And lastly, will you need lighting? If it's an outdoor event that goes into the evening hours and after dusk, you may need additional lighting in your tent. If electricity isn't provided, you're going to need a power source. I recommend one of those little portable batteries that you charge at home and then plug your lights and stuff into when you get to the event. It's a costly addition to a vendor setup, but I've had one for 1 year now, and I've used it for countless things. It's been really, really handy to have, and mine holds a charge for a really long time. I got it on Amazon. Number 9, yeah, that's right, competition and product mix. If there are too many vendors selling too many things that are alike, it's going to be a lot harder to sell. What is the vendor mix and makeup, product makeup for the event going to be? If it's a juried show, you can rest assured that the coordinators have done a good job of making sure that there's not too much of one thing. But if it's not a juried show, that could be a problem. That said, complementary products can actually drive drive buyers to your booth. For instance, a handmade soap vendor right next to a jewelry vendor selling rings. Those kinds of things complement each other in a roundabout way, but they don't compete. Tip number 10, we touched on this earlier, which is to track performance. Keep records of all of your markets. Keep records of what you sold, how much money you made, what you paid for your booth fee, what the traffic was like, what the weather was like, because that is a factor and it does change year to year. Anything else you can think of that would help you to decide whether or not you want to do this event next year. Those records are going to be invaluable in the future. I also make it a point when I'm at a market to ask the customers how they heard about the event. That gives you a good idea of whether or not the marketing for the event is working. If everybody says to me, oh, I was driving by and I just saw it, but they didn't know about it ahead of time, promotion is probably a problem for that particular event. But if everybody says, oh, I've known about it for weeks and I've been excited and on the edge of my seat, then the promotion has been phenomenal for that event and the organizers are doing a great, great job. So I'm going to definitely consider coming back next year, because if they promoted it very, very well this year, they're going to do the same next year, because that's just who they are. And my bonus tip is to trust your gut. If it feels off, it is. If the vendor policies feel really vague and uncertain, maybe there's a problem. If the dates seem like weird dates, it might be a scam event that you're finding, and maybe you don't want to apply for that one. If you're hearing a lot of mixed reviews, take those with a grain of salt, because somebody could just be disgruntled that's saying bad things, and somebody else could have just had a really stellar time, or even be a friend of the coordinator that's saying really good things. So you have to take reviews with a grain of salt, because you don't know what's at stake for the person making that review. But that said, trust your gut. If it feels off, it is. And maybe you should pass. So what do you think? Were these tips helpful? Are you geared up for the market season? Are you excited and ready? Because I am. My first market is not until February. It is February. My first market is not until April, but I have already been hard at work prepping my inventory and trying to make sure that I have as many of the items that I want to have made as possible, because I know that once we get into market season, catch up is much, much harder as things sell. So it's much easier to have a really great stock of inventory going into the season, so that I'm not playing catch up the whole season long, trying to make sure that I have enough things to sell. If this was helpful, please leave your comments below. I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, until next time, I'll see you next week.